Welcome to Untitled Studios, and today at OGW we're going to be doing something a little bit different from our usual stuff. This is not a review today, this is not a gear guide, this is something separate. We're not talking about musical instruments at all. What we are going to be talking about is some of my musical influences and inspirations. Now, something as a musician I think is extremely important is to talk about what came before you, what inspired you to make music, whether it be a specific song or project or just to pick up an instrument and start playing yourself. Now, every musician, from your industry titans down to your small humble musicians like myself, could probably reel off a list, your arm's length of musicians and bands and songs that influence you to start making music. This list for me is a tight 9 people who influenced me to do certain things and play certain ways, and a couple of them actually influenced me to even just start playing music. These range from guys from the 70s who have been active for a long time up until guys who are active now. I'm not including anything in the classical realm of music, which is a huge part of music that I love. These are modern musicians. The number one on the list, and this is in no order, this is just the first one that I listed, is Devin Townsend. Devin Townsend is a Canadian singer-songwriter, famously of Strapping Young Lad, the Devin Townsend Project. Formerly sang with the Wild Hearts at one point on some projects, sang with Steve Vai back in the early days, mostly known for his solo stuff, Devin Townsend Project, Devin Townsend Band, and just as Devin Townsend. He is a phenomenal guitarist and absolutely transcendent vocalist, idolised by many, reacted to all over YouTube by reactors because of how good and how interesting and different he is. And the one thing about Devin Townsend that really spoke to me is the ability to change himself and his style and develop and do things such as the real brutal, heavy ferocity of like SYL and Strapping Young Lad albums to the beautiful, complex stuff that he did on his most recent projects. And that is a true picture of Devin Townsend. He is a chameleon. He is just all over the place, and that's something that he confesses, and he makes a lot of music at different times. You know, Casualties of Course, another thing. It's almost an easy listening, kind of folk influenced album. It's, you know, different but still has that signature stamp of Devin Townsend on it. It's a difficult one to recommend tracks for him, as he is such an influence on me. It's hard to pick just one piece of music that I could say is the one that you need to hear for him. So what I've done is I've actually picked 3 pieces for Devin Townsend to give you a taste of what he can do in a sort of like a range of music. This one. So my recommendations are threefold. I've got the track from Devin Townsend himself on the album Ocean Machine, and it is called Things Beyond Things. Just a huge song, the very vulnerable vocals with awesome choruses that are super sort of catchy, very emotional kind of song. The style of stuff Devin was making at the time, it really fits in with that on that album. It's an awesome song, and it closed the album, and it's just one of those songs I can listen to over and over again. Second recommendation is a song called Earth Day, and that is off the album Pantera by Devin Townsend. This song is a modern metal epic, a ballad, you know, a huge song, massive melodies and harmonies, awesome rhythm sections, and his vocals are fantastic in it. It's a great song, big smile on my face when I listen to it, and that's Earth Day off of Pantera by Devin Townsend. And the last recommendation is a Strapping Young Lad recommendation. It is the song Detox. Fantastic song from a fantastic album, City. Really just riff heavy, just driven by an awesome sort of galloping, chugged riff. You know it if you've heard it. Brilliant song. Not much more to say about that. Just an awesome heavy metal song, and everyone should go and listen to Detox off the album City by Devin Townsend. And the next one is Massive Dirt, and an obvious one if you like metal, and I'm a metal fan myself. And looking at me, you can probably guess that I love this man and these bands he was in, but this is Dimebag Darrell of Pantera and later Damageplan. Now, before Dimebag Darrell's tragic murder, he was a fantastic, iconic guitarist. He did things that other people couldn't even, you know, think of doing. He wrote fantastic songs. And Pantera is one of those bands that I can listen to all the time. Like, no matter my mood or what the day's been like, anything, I can listen to Pantera. There is something for every mood and every moment. I personally fell in love with his style, the artificial harmonics and the chugging riffs, and his just ability to, I don't know, do things that other people didn't do at the time. He was just an awesome guitarist, and even going on to Damageplan, he was doing something in that kind of nu metal vein, and it was even then super interesting because of his guitar style and his link up with Vinnie Paul drumming. His brother Vinnie Paul it was just different and amazing for the time. The piece of music that I would recommend for Dimebag Darrell, if you want to check him out, if you're watching this video, you must know who Dimebag is, so this is just going to be an obvious one. It's By Demons Be Driven, which is a track off the album Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera. It is an awesome song. It has one of my favourite riffs. The verse riff is fantastic in it, and the end of the song is just so cool, the way it drags out a rhythm section. Fantastic song. Go check that one out. It's By Demons Be Driven off the album Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera. Going to mix it up now and do a bass player, not a guitarist this time. It's the only bass player on my list, I think, and that is, again, it's not going to surprise people when I say it, but it's Les Claypool of Primus. Now, Les Claypool, not just of Primus, but he's his main band. He has Les Claypool and the Frogmen and a few other projects. I think he was doing the project with Sean Lennon, which I listened to recently. Not massively my cup of tea, but really interesting and cool still. I'm a huge Primus fan. I'm a huge Les Claypool fan. I don't necessarily just love Primus for his style and his playing. Primus is an all-round fantastic band, and everything they do in that band is just slightly off-kilter, and that kind of appeals to me. I like that kind of strange off-kilter vibe of the band. But Les Claypool himself is an awesome songwriter, really unique vocalist. The stuff he does just is just unusual and really speaks to me. The piece of music I'm recommending is the track Too Many Puppies, which is featured on the album Frizzle Fry. I picked this one because it's unusual. It's not a slappy, heavy kind of song. It doesn't have a solo bass section in it. It's a chuggy kind of song, like a driven song with that weird question-answer section between the rhythm instruments and the vocals. And it's just a really cool song. And I just always listen to that song. Probably whenever I listen to Primus, I pretty much put that song on first. So that's Too Many Puppies on the album Frizzle Fry by Primus. Let's mix it up again and do a drummer this time. The only drummer on my list. Now, I like a lot of drummers. I have a lot of drummers that I'm into, but this one is the one drummer that stands out to me as a massive, I'd say, influence into when I'm writing and programming drum parts. It is Gene Hoglan of Strapping Young Lad and every other metal band who needed a drummer in the sort of mid-2010s. The reason I make that joke is because Gene Hoglan has played in Opeth, Fear Factory, Strapping Young Lad, obviously from Death, and he's kind of been all over the place, and he's an accomplished, just absolute machine of a drummer. He is, there's certain guys, his nickname was the Atomic Clock, and basically you'd understand if you saw him play. There's certain things that I've heard Gene Hoglan do in Strapping Young Lad that just fascinated me, and I could rewind a track over and over again just to listen to a feel, or just to get the feel from that drum part that he was playing. He's just one of those guys, imposing, powerful drummer, and just so technically sound and just awesome to watch. The piece of music I would recommend for your Gene Hoglan listening is the song Dirt Pride. It's from an album by SYL. It is the SYL album. Some people called it the Red album, but you'd know it because it was the red one. And this song is just driving, just aggressive. It's one of those songs that could have been thrown away as just a super fast throwaway sort of short couple-minute track, but the drum parts in it really elevate the track massively. The vocals are quite hectic and quite in your face, and the guitar is just running like a runaway train, and the drums pull everything together so beautifully. I was thinking about recommending something from Death, like The Philosopher or something like that, but I like to pick something a little left of field, and the song Dirt Pride really stands out, and just that power and that ability to tie a song together with an amazing groove as well. The central part of the song, the choruses, the groove's awesome in that, and it's all Gene Hoglan. So that is Dirt Pride off of the album SYL by Strapping Young Lad. The next guy I picked was someone I came to later in life, sort of in my, I'd say sort of very, very late teens, and I fell in love with the music. I discovered them through Pantera and through Down, and that is Crowbar, and the gentleman I'm talking about is Kirk Windstein. Like I said, Kirk Windstein's a guy I discovered later, and I just didn't know I loved Crowbar until I heard one song, and it just blew me away, and I couldn't stop listening to the album that I first got from Crowbar just for about 3 months. I was constantly listening to it, and that album was Sonic Excess in its purest form. It's a crazy album to listen to because it's very emotional in a way. It's very cathartic. His vocal style, his riffs, it's just aggressive, but also it's vulnerable sounding. It's going to sound weird, but if you know Crowbar, you understand what I mean. And Kirk's voice is just amazing on that album. I had the pleasure of actually meeting Kirk at a Jamie Jaster podcast show in London a few years back, and he was just such a cool dude. Obviously, he met a lot of people that night, so he was being super nice to people, but I met him, and then about 4 or 5 days later, I went to see Crowbar, supported by Ingested, at a venue local to me, and actually spoke to him again. And he remembered meeting people at the gig. He said everyone looked like me at the gig, so he couldn't remember me. And yeah, he was awesome to talk to again. Just a super personal guy and a massive character. One thing I learned from that podcast, and every time I've heard him in interviews, he's a super charismatic guy. He seems quite like soft-spoken, even though he's a big imposing figure, but he's just a super charismatic, cool guy, and his songwriting really shows that. The track that I would pick, a piece of music that I would use to display my love of the band and of Kirk Windstein, is Through the Ashes I Watched You Burn, and that is from the album Sonic XS by Crowbar. That's a fantastic track, just a huge ballad of a track, and just his vocals are amazing. I still listen to that song all the time, and it kind of gives me chills when I listen to it. So that is Through the Ashes I Watch You Burn off of the album Sonic XS from Crowbar. Again, I'm going to mix it up, and this is my first vocalist. This is only a vocalist on his own. Obviously, we spoke about Kirk from Crowbar, and we spoke about Devin Townsend and Les Claypool, but this is just a vocalist, no guitar, and obviously a songwriter. And this one is the always amazing, always enigmatic, and always charming Mike Patton of Faith No More. There's not much you can really say about Mike Patton that people don't know already. He's amazing. Obviously, other projects he's been involved with, Tomahawk, Mr. Bungle, a bunch of other things he's done over the years. He is just a unique soul. He's one of those guys that really stands apart from everyone. I don't think there's someone else out there who can mimic his style, his presence, his ability, can write like him. He is, in my opinion, one of a kind, and Faith No More is just an amazing band, such an amazing band to listen to. Phenomenal live shows, just the presence of that band throughout the different iterations of the band, they've just been consistently great. I've not listened to a Faith No More project featuring Mike Patton onwards that I've not liked. Now for Mike Patton, much like Devin Townsend, he's kind of a chameleon. He kind of does a lot of different things, and for that point I'm actually recommending 3 songs to listen to get a flavour of Mike Patton. The first one I'm recommending is Faith No More from the album King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. That is Take This Bottle. Fantastic song, a sort of like easygoing, easy listening ballad. His voice really pops out on the track. Awesome song, and easy one to just put on repeat. So that's Take This Bottle from the album King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime from Faith No More. The second one is the song Captain Midnight of the album Mitgas by Tomahawk. This is a cool track, just an awesome track with like a weird sort of like a DB beat, sort of like drum pattern, and then a huge big riff chorus with Mike Patton hollering over it, and it's just an amazing song, really atmospheric, really fun sort of song to listen to. So that is Captain Midnight of the album Mitgas by Tomahawk. And the final recommendation for Mike Patton is the song Pig Latin. Now, the song Pig Latin features on the collaboration project that Mike Patton did with the Dillinger Escape Plan, a band I love, and the 4-track EP was amazing. And the song, I think it's the second song, or maybe the third song, second song possibly, Pig Latin, is just a cool, quirky, unique, twisted song, and Mike Patton's vocals fit so well over that more experimental, less harsh and aggressive track from the Dillinger Escape Plan musicians. So that is Pig Latin on the EP Irony is a Dead Scene by the Dillinger Escape Plan and Mike Patton. Another modern guitarist, someone who I was really inspired by growing up, seeing him play Ibanez 7-string guitars and listening to the riffs that he churned out, an absolute machine of a man, is Dino Cazares of Fear Factory. Again, another guy in a couple of bands, Brujeria, Assassino, Fear Factory, done a bunch of stuff. Amazing guitarist, just an absolute machine. I know it's a cliche to talk about a machine when you're talking about a band like Fear Factory with the industrial influences and things like that, but he is like a robot. With that right arm is just amazing. The speed, watching him live a bunch of times up close. I've had a couple of lucky times at the same Jasta podcast I saw Kirk Winstein at. He was there as well, Dino, and watching him up live playing some stuff was just amazing to see. And actually talking to him and meeting him, it was so cool. I got to tell him he was the guy who inspired me to play 7 strings, and he was such a nice guy, really friendly. I've seen Fear Factory tons of times live. They're one of my favourite bands for modern metal. Yeah, he's just an awesome guitarist, a real influence on me. The track that I'm recommending is a bit of a different one, actually. It's off the album Obsolete, and the track is Freedom or Fire. It's not your typical Fear Factory song. It's more atmospheric, more melodic, and the driven sort of verse section with Burton's vocals are really cool, where the guitar and the vocals mimic each other. It's different for Fear Factory. It's not as much sort of super fast double bass backed up riffing, but it's a really cool song to show that Dino can do some different things and use sort of his ability to kind of work in those weird sort of sounds and melodies in the background. So yeah, that's a cool song. It's Freedom or Fire off the album Obsolete by Fear Factory. That's my last 2 guys now. And what I've done is I've saved 2 legends for last. These are the oldest sort of elder statesman guys. These are from 70s sort of onwards sort of guitarists. And these are the guys that inspired me to actually play guitar. Not just my style, not what guitar I played. These are the guys that got me actually to pick up an instrument and go, yeah, this has got to happen. The first of the 2 is Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath. I mean, do I have to really say much more than that? It's Black Sabbath. They basically invented that bend of modern metal. Amazing British legends. Tony Iommi, just a phenomenal guitarist. The ability to conjure up so much feeling and emotion from certain riffs. His style of playing, just the most relaxed and most technically just awesome guy for his era. Doing so much different stuff. That dark, heavy, oppressive metal sound was just awesome. I could safely say Tony Iommi is one of those guys that if I was in a room with him, I would be paralysed by fear, being that he could possibly even look at me, because he is basically a god in terms of what I believe as far as music goes. So the piece of music I'm going to recommend is off the album Paranoid, but it's not the track Paranoid. It is Electric Funeral. Awesome song, overlooked in my opinion by a lot of people. Sabbath fans will love it, so that goes without saying. But it's a cool song, more atmospheric. The vocal and guitar mirroring each other in the verse, awesome. The ending, awesome. Just great song. Go out and listen to it. Electric Funeral off the album Paranoid by Black Sabbath. And the final one is a guy who was one of the earliest bands I listened to because of my parents, especially my dad, playing them to me, and that is Brian May from Queen. So yeah, Queen's one of those bands. It doesn't necessarily completely fit in line with a lot of the music that I've talked about and guitarists that I've talked about, but I grew up listening to Queen. I absolutely idolise them. I love the band. I love the music. They are one of my favourite things to ever existed. Queen are one of those bands that there's not a lot to be said from other than just go listen to them and hear, and you'll understand why they are peddled as legends. The track I'm recommending is the track White Man off of the album A Day at the Races. It was also one of my dad's favourite tracks, and he played that one to me, and I straight away, the guitar parts were just awesome. I used to love playing this one on guitar as well. Just a really cool song, real kind of bluesy feel to it, and just structured really nice with a sort of soft and heavy dynamics. Just a cool song, and it really shows that Queen weren't just a big pomp and circumstance piano and Freddie at the front kind of band. They could be very raw. And that was the track White Man by Queen on the album A Day at the Races. So that's my list. It's quite an extensive list. I think it's pretty much covered everyone. I've probably missed a couple of guys that influenced me, especially in the drum and bass areas, because I'm predominantly a guitarist, but I've taken a lot of influence from different guys. I won't throw out honourable mentions because I'd like to focus mainly on the guys that are actually on the list and made the list finally. But yeah, that was my list. Hopefully it resonated a little bit, and there's some things on there. Please sound off if you don't agree with some of the things I put in the list. Sound off if you do agree, and let me know tracks you like by all the artists. I'm always keen to hear reasons why to check out another song, because everyone's gonna have their own opinions on songs. I hope you enjoyed the video today. It was a little something different. I plan to do one in the near future where I talk about just bands I love and give a little brief rundown of why I love the band. hopefully some different stuff, not just your obvious metal. I'll throw in some other different things that I listened to growing up and stuff that I love still now that's a little bit different. So drop us some comments and let us know what you think of the video. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on the notifications, share, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your grandma, tell your grandpa, tell everyone. Most importantly, take it easy and take care.